Two videos ago I have analyzed a game called BP Championship Rally. In this video we are going to analyze a game simply titled BP Rally. Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it. Okay, BP Rally. BP Rally is a shockwave game made by Robot Duck. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any information on when this game came out. To keep it consistent, I am going to analyze this game the same way I analyzed BP Championship Rally. That means we are going to start this analysis by reading the instructions. The race is run over 3 stages. Stage 1 is in the countryside of Southern Europe and stages 2 and 3 are in the mountains and sand dunes of North Africa. You're competing in a Volkswagen Touareg. Press up key to accelerate, press down key to brake, press left key to steer left, press right key to steer right. Remember to watch your fuel gauge as you don't want to run out of fuel before the end of the race. You can pick up fuel cans along the way and hit space to refuel. Make sure you collect BP Ultimate as you'll experience better performance and more MPG to help you complete the race. If you run out of fuel, the race is over. Finally, try not to do too much damage to the car. Wreck it and the race is over. If you have watched my BP Championship Rally analysis video, you already know where this video is going. Before we can talk about the graphics, I need to say one more thing. You have probably noticed that the instructions say something about the better performance when you pick up BP Ultimate cans. Well, more about that later. Okay, now we can talk about the graphics. Well, it's a shockwave game, alright. Oh wait, I've used that line before. Let me try again. If you compare this game to BP Championship Rally, you will very quickly notice that this game looks exactly the same as BP Championship Rally, except for the backdrop and the location. You know what I'm talking about. Low-res textures, pictures for backgrounds, and so on and so forth. With that being said, we can now move on to the story. I have already talked about it in the instructions part of the video, so in case you missed it, go back to the instructions part of the video. Oh wait, I've used that line as well. Let me try again. BP Championship Rally didn't have a story, and this game doesn't have a story either. Still, if you want to know what's going on, go back to the instructions part of the video. And now we can talk about the thing that actually matters, the gameplay. And I have to say, the gameplay comparing to BP Championship Rally is different, but different in a good way. To make it easier for you to understand and to keep it consistent, I am going to analyze the same mechanics that I analyzed in my BP Championship Rally video. That's right, time to analyze the 3 mechanics this game has, including the minor mechanics as well. First one, the damage system. It works exactly the same as it did in BP Championship Rally. You have a damage meter. If it reaches 100, it's game over, and you have to start from level 1. Yeah, that one is pretty self-explanatory. Let's move on. The second mechanic we need to talk about is the checkpoint system. Compared to BP Championship Rally, this mechanic is very simplified, or should I say more simplified, which makes it easier for me to analyze it. There are no more checkpoints scattered around the map. In this game, you go from point A to point B. There's only the start line and the finish line. There is also no time limit, which means you don't have to hurry and you can complete the race at your own pace. The last major mechanic we are going to talk about in this analysis video is the fuel mechanic. The oil mechanic and the oil meter is now gone. In this game you have only the fuel, and the fuel mechanic itself is changed. Now, instead of simply picking up the fuel cans to refuel your car, now you can collect them and use them at your own will. You can collect up to 4 cans, and there are two types of fuel cans. The first type is the normal fuel can, the brown one, and the BP Ultimate can, the white one. And with that we have to go back to that one part of the video, aka the instructions. Remember when I've said that the instructions said that the BP fuel cans give you better performance and all that kind of stuff? That's a lie. That's a straight up lie. The BP Ultimate cans give you the exact same amount of fuel as the normal cans, and they make your car behave the same. You don't get more speed, you don't get better performance. You are driving the same car no matter which fuel can you pick up. Also, this is the only bad quality I can say about the game: misleading instructions. Yes, you heard that right. That was the only bad quality I had to say about this game. And now that I've said it, I can basically move on with the other stuff. I don't have to talk about bad qualities anymore. And now I can just talk about the minor mechanics. Yeah, you know which mechanics I'm going to talk about. You know, the ones like, for example, if you go the wrong way, the game sends you back. It doesn't make you lose, you just get sent back to the point where you were before. And since there's no time penalty, this mechanic is not a problem compared to BP Championship Rally. Or how about this minor mechanic? If you try to go off-road, you will be sent back to the point you were before. If you go too far, you will be put back immediately. If you just go a tiny bit, you get a 3-second countdown, so that you can either wait for it to count down so you can go back to the point you were immediately, or you can just try using that to do it yourself. If you have no idea what I've just said, don't worry, I explained this way better in my BP Championship Rally analysis video. Now there are only 2 things left that I have to talk about. The first one are the set pieces. Compared to BP Championship Rally, the set pieces in BP Rally are less varied. But just because they are less varied doesn't mean they are bad. I can name at least 3 set pieces from this game from the top of my head. The first one being going under the bridge in level 1, the second one being level 2. Just the entire thing. I mean, come on, racing down the canyon is really fun, even though the pathway is pretty linear, just like BP Championship Rally. Or how about the jumps in the level 3? As glitchy as they are, let's be honest, jumping is pretty fun. However, I have to give BP Championship Rally some credit. BP Championship Rally simply had more variety and cooler set pieces. And with that, we have to talk about the part you've been waiting for, the controls. Remember in my BP Championship Rally analysis video when I've said that the controls feel heavy? I should say that the controls in BP Championship Rally feel too heavy. So that's a small correction for that video. In this game that you're watching right now, the controls feel too light, which means you can now turn without any problems. And just like in BP Championship Rally, you can mess around with those settings in the options, so it's not a problem. Since the handling is light, it actually makes the game fun. Now, I'm not saying that heavy controls are bad, they aren't. I'm just saying that in my opinion, light handling is more fun. But that's just me. In this game, the tracks themselves are more straightforward and less complicated, which means that the light handling this game has, again you can adjust it in the options, this actually makes the game way more fun. The driving is simply more fun, and I don't have that many complaints about it. And by that I mean I don't have any complaints about it. The last thing I'm going to say is the fact that I think that this game is actually a bit easier than BP Championship Rally, but just a bit. Like I've said before, the controls are improved, the tracks are more straightforward and less complicated, there's no time limit, which means that you don't have to hurry that much, you can refuel your car at will. And there's also one thing I actually forgot to talk about, the opponents. Well, opponents in quotations. The only thing they do is they try to make you bump into them. And you can take from 2% of damage to 6% of damage depending on how hard you bump them. But you know what? I don't have a problem with this. They are just a minor distraction, and even if you bump into them, the damage is perfectly balanced, so they are not a problem, they are just fun opponents to mess around with. Combine this with all the good things I've said before, and you get BP Rally, a very, very fun game. In conclusion, BP Rally is a fun game and I definitely recommend you check it out. The catch? Just like BP Championship Rally, you have to use Blue Maxima Flashpoint or other ways to play this game, since Shockwave doesn't exist anymore. But regardless, BP Rally is a very fun and addictive game, and I would go as far and say the game actually aged better than BP Championship Rally. Like I've said, that's just my opinion, you don't have to agree with me on that. But I will say that this game is definitely worth checking out. Go play it. Seriously, download Blue Maxima Flashpoint and go play it. But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Just